Primož Roglič didn't start as a cyclist. He was a Slovenian ski jumper, and in 2007 he crashed heavily at Planica on the ski-flying hill during training. He was airlifted to hospital and reportedly lost consciousness, but avoided catastrophic injury and continued competing afterward. That crash didn't end his career overnight. What it did was alter the trajectory.
Of course, I just probably didn't have the respect or the fear that I needed. For sure, that at that moment I was missing that, and just mistakes from my side. Physically, it was not actually really bad. I broke, I think, just my nose, but then had pretty serious brain concussions, and that was somehow the worst damages.
Roglič stayed in ski jumping for several more years, but the progression never returned in the way a young athlete needs. By his early 20s, he was effectively finished, not because he lost the ability to suffer, but because he could no longer see a realistic path to the top. That detail matters for everything that follows. Roglič isn't a romantic. He doesn't build an identity around setbacks or missed chances. When something stops working, he moves on. After stepping away from ski jumping, officially around 2012, Roglič drifted through other endurance sports, including duathlon and triathlon, while trying to figure out what came next. Cycling entered his life quietly and practically. He started riding, entered local races, and realized he was good enough to take it seriously. A key nudge came from André Hauptmann, former professional rider and later a directeur sportif, who pointed him toward a real pathway. Roglič sold his motorcycle to buy a road bike. He worked his way into the cycling system through local clubs and eventually joined Adriamobil, turning professional in 2013.
Njegov oče me je poklical, prav Primož je prodal motorbike in zdaj bi rad kupil pa cestno kolo.
It was like I went to one climbing mountain race. It's really close to me. So I bought also helmet and shirt and everything. So I still have one funny, really the funniest picture from that one. But so that's how I started, and then later I continued like this also in duathlons.
He was late, technically underdeveloped. He lacked years of pack racing instinct, but the engine appeared quickly, especially in efforts that rewarded sustained power and time trial ability. By the time Primož Roglič turned professional with Adriamobil, his position was clear. He was late to the sport, inexperienced in bunch racing, and largely invisible to the World Tour. What he did have was measurable ability. He could produce power for long durations and repeat efforts without fading. In a results-driven sport, that matters more than style. Results followed. He won races, but more importantly, he performed consistently across different terrain. Time trials stood out. Stage racing made sense to him. He didn't rely on instinct yet. He relied on control. Teams noticed, not because he dominated headlines, but because his numbers held up under scrutiny. This distinction matters. Roglič wasn't fast-tracked. He wasn't marketed. He was evaluated. Every contract depended on proof, not promise. That pressure shaped how he raced. He didn't freelance or improvise. He learned to execute instructions and conserve energy. By the time World Tour interest became serious, Roglič hadn't forced his way in. He had made himself too useful to ignore. If you value this kind of work, help the channel grow. Like, share, subscribe, and drop a comment. When Primož Roglič joined Lotto NL Jumbo in 2016, he arrived with clear strengths but no defined ceiling. His first season offered immediate proof of what the team had identified. He won an individual time trial at the Giro d'Italia, beating established specialists. From there, his role expanded through results, not reputation. In 2017 and 2018, Roglič began winning one-week stage races and competing for general classification against elite opposition. He won the Tour of the Basque Country, the Tour de Romandie, and Tirreno Adriatico. These weren't opportunistic victories. They were controlled performances over multiple days. Inside the team, expectations changed. Roglič moved from being used selectively to being built around. He was given leadership in stage races, then backed consistently in longer events. His responsibilities grew because his results justified them. There was no sudden reinvention. His progression followed a simple pattern: earn opportunities, convert them into wins, and gain control of his calendar. By 2019, Primož Roglič was no longer being tested. He was being trusted. That season made the shift explicit. He won the Tour de Romandie, the UAE Tour, and closed the year by winning the Vuelta a España. These weren't experiments in leadership, they were confirmations. At the Vuelta, Roglič rode with control rather than aggression. He defended the red jersey through consistency, time trial strength, and selective climbing. The win mattered because it showed he could manage a 3-week race from the front without cracking. For Jumbo, that removed doubt. He wasn't just strong, he was dependable. From that point on, Roglič became the team's primary general classification rider. His race calendar, preparation, and support reflected that status. The Tour de France was no longer theoretical. It became the objective. The 2020 Tour de France confirmed Roglic's position and exposed its limits. He rode into the yellow jersey and held it deep into the race. He didn't gain time through chaos or surprise attacks. He gained it the way he always had, through time trials, controlled pacing, and minimizing losses. Until the final time trial, nothing suggested instability. He hadn't cracked in the mountains. He hadn't lost control of the race. When Tadej Pogačar overturned the classification, it happened in a single effort, a superior performance delivered when it mattered most. That distinction matters. The Tour didn't reveal Roglič as fragile, it revealed him as beatable. From that moment on, he was no longer the ceiling of the team's ambition. He became the reference point others could surpass. Jonas Vingegaard didn't emerge slowly, he solved a problem. By 2021, Jumbo no longer had to guess who their Tour rider should be. Vingegaard climbed better, recovered faster, and handled repeated high mountain days with less drop-off. Where Roglič relied on control and time trials, Vingegaard thrived when races became chaotic and cumulative. That difference mattered at the Tour. Roglič crashed early, as he had before, but this time the team pivoted without hesitation. Vingegaard finished second overall. In 2022, he went one step further and won the Tour de France. At that point, the hierarchy stopped being theoretical. Roglič was still respected, still backed in other races, but for July, the order was clear. He was no longer the primary solution. After the 2020 Tour, Primož Roglič didn't disappear. He went back to doing what he had done since 2017, winning stage races. He won the Vuelta a España again in 2020 and repeated the feat in 2021, bringing his total to 3 overall victories. He added wins in one-week World Tour races, including the Tour de Romandie and Itzulia Basque Country. His time trial ability remained among the best in the sport, culminating in Olympic gold in Tokyo. These weren't transitional results. They weren't farewell performances. They were elite wins. By this point, Roglič had built a resume most riders never approach. Grand Tour victories, World Tour stage races, and a major championship result against the clock. Whatever the Tour hierarchy had become, his output had not changed. If you appreciate work we're doing, support the channel. Like, share, subscribe, and let us know your thoughts in the comments. By the end of 2023, there was no real ambiguity left at Jumbo Visma. The team had a Tour de France winner in Jonas Vingegaard, and everything about their long-term planning reflected that reality. When it came to July, Roglič was no longer the first name written down. This wasn't personal, and it wasn't abrupt. It was structural. The Tour de France dictates priorities, and Jumbo had committed fully to the rider they believed gave them the best chance of winning it. Roglič still had support. He still had freedom in other races, but the ceiling was clear. For a rider like Roglič, that mattered. His way of winning depends on preparation and authority. He needs a team willing to defend time, control the race when necessary, and build a season around his objectives. That level of commitment was no longer guaranteed at Jumbo. So he left. The move to Red Bull-Bora Hansgrohe wasn't about escaping pressure or finding comfort. It was about restoring clarity. One leader, one plan, one clear line of responsibility. At this point in his career, Roglič didn't need to be protected. He needed to be in control of his own chances. Roglič didn't need much time to show why the move made sense. In 2024, riding for Red Bull-Bora Hansgrohe, he won the Vuelta a España once again, his fourth overall victory in the race. It wasn't a surprise result, but it was a significant one. The way he won looked familiar. He took time where the race allowed it, limited losses where it didn't, and avoided unnecessary risks. There was no reinvention of his riding style. What changed was the context. This time, the team was fully committed to him. That commitment showed. Bora didn't race passively. They committed resources, set tempo when needed, and made decisions with a clear objective. Roglič did the rest. The result put him level with the all-time modern record for Vuelta overall victories. More importantly, it confirmed something very practical. When Roglič is given clear leadership and full backing, he is still capable of winning Grand Tours. This wasn't a nostalgic win or a late career outlier. It was confirmation that the limits he had run into before were situational, not physical. And it reopened a very specific goal. A fifth Vuelta. Winning the Vuelta in 2024 secured Roglic's position at Red Bull-Bora Hansgrohe in the short term. It did not remove uncertainty further down the road. Looking toward 2026, Remco Evenepoel has signed for Bora, and he will be part of the team. That changes the landscape immediately. Evenepoel isn't a rider you gradually fold into an existing structure. His arrival brings clear demands on team resources, race calendars, and Grand Tour priorities. Those decisions won't be abstract or long-term. They'll show up quickly in how races are planned and who the team is built around. For Primož Roglič, that sharpens the situation. His standing inside Bora isn't protected by contracts or reputation. It's tied to results. As long as he keeps winning, especially in Grand Tours, he remains the reference point. If that changes, the team will adjust without hesitation. At this stage, Primož Roglic's career doesn't need reinterpretation. It needs a clear accounting of what remains. One objective stands out: a fifth overall victory at the Vuelta a España. 4 wins already place him among the most successful riders in the race's history. A fifth would put him alone at the top. It's a specific target, and one that still fits his strengths. Beyond that, Roglič remains a contender in week-long World Tour stage races. These are events that reward their preparation, time trial ability, and controlled climbing, areas where he has consistently delivered, regardless of team or season. Grand Tours outside the Tour de France also remain realistic objectives, not guaranteed wins, but races where leadership, form, and execution still give him a legitimate chance. Stage wins, time trials, and selective general classification campaigns are all still open. What matters now is clarity. Roglič is no longer chasing status or hierarchy. He's chasing outcomes that are still within reach. The list is shorter, but it isn't empty. If you want more documentaries like this, support the work, like the video, share it, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment. It genuinely helps.